and then we'll go ahead and stream this this presentation online as well when we're finished. It looks like a good amount of you. This may be a brand new presentation for you. You've never seen MPS before. Some of you, it looks like, may have seen some MPS presentation before. I know I've spoken with a couple of you about it. MPS hasn't changed since the last time we talked in any major regards. However, there are lots of new features that we have added in that are really kind of neat and changed a lot of the way that things work for reporting purposes, and it's really kind of cool. We're also going to be adding in some other features relatively soon as well. I want to make you aware of that. At the end of the presentation, we'll talk about some of those new features, and we will also talk about what's coming up on Friday, which is another presentation, which is called Sign Request, which is the front end for MPS. So for any of you who may not have heard about that or who may be interested in that, please go ahead and register online for the webinar on Friday. We will be repeating these for the next couple of months, twice a month like this, on a Wednesday and on a Friday, so that you have the opportunity to partake in this and to get any questions you may have answered. So if you need to take off, totally understand. Please feel free to send us off an email, send me an email. My email address, just so everybody has it, and I'll go ahead and put it up here on the chat system so that you can see it. And this will be to everybody, is carl@tmsprintsystems.com. All right, so far so good. Any questions? I'm just going to ask that every once in a while and then look over to make sure that I have answered any questions thus far. Doesn't look like we have any questions except for the one that Nick, you asked earlier, and we'll get to that in a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed then. So what is MPS? I hope you can all see my screen. If any of you cannot see my screen, will you raise your hand at this point? Okay, looks like we're good. So what is MPS? MPS is a dynamic capture data tool, a data capture tool for everything that you print through EFI. It's something that TMS has developed, and we work in conjunction with the EFI or the Fiery software in order to take the data that they are reporting and then publish it to a website that you have access to. Then in that website, you have the ability to go through and change any of the information that you'd like to be able to accurately confirm it for costs, as well as to categorize it for any of your needs so that you can easily pull reports in the future based on several different criteria. We're going to get into that in depth, but I wanted to kind of give you an overall summary of what it is. MPS is a fantastic tool, and it helps us to answer a lot of these kinds of questions. What did I just do for my sign shop? How much did it cost me to run this printer for the last year, for the last month, for the last week? What did that promotion that we just ran cost? How did we allocate funds for the 4th of July marketing push that we just did? This tool can be used in multiple ways, along with just a sheer accounting program so that you can see what did we use for costs in the sign room. MPS has the ability not only to track the cost of material and ink and toner, but it also can control the cost or track the costs of your finishing as well, your lamination, your grommets, all that kind of stuff. It takes a little bit of manual input from you, but it becomes a much more effective and much more all-encompassing tool at that point. So the way the MPS works, and I'll talk about how the costs are captured here in just a moment, but the way that MPS works is it's just like running out of CorelDRAW like you normally would. The workflow does not change as you print from CorelDRAW. All you do is you go to File and Print, you choose your EFI Fiery unit driver, go to Preferences, you're going to set up your changes here for what printer you're going to print through. Once that dialog appears, you can then go ahead and select, like I said, the printer you're printing through. You can also select the material type you're printing on. This tells us exactly what to track as far as costs are concerned, and what roll size you're printing on. Okay, those are the only things that need to change. That's the only change to your workflow is you need to tell us what material type you're printing on, and that's where this is captured. Okay. Then you go ahead and print this like normal. It shows up into the EFI software, and once that's done, EFI processes it, prints it, and once it's printed, there is a little file that is captured onto your system. It is not this file that's in the EFI, so you can delete this after it's done printing. It's a little file that's captured on your system that says, hey, this file was printed and it looks like this, and here's the information about it. And then MPS has that file uploaded to it once every hour. So once every hour, it will look at what's in your queue that's new, or look at what you've printed that's new, not what's in the queue because you may have deleted it, and it will automatically upload those files to the MPS software. There is a manual interface if you want to make it upload right away, and that is once the file has changed from spool to printing to printed, you can come over here into the System Manager and go to System, Upload Printed Job Information. And that will manually send it up so that it's on the website right away for you. Okay. Any questions so far? Everybody with me on the workflow for how to get the files into MPS? The rest of the time we'll actually spend in the software. I don't see any hands raised, so we're going to proceed. So MPS, like I mentioned before, is an online software. It's an online interface. This interface allows you to be able to see what's going on, what did you print, and then we can confirm those jobs. When your job gets uploaded to MPS, it comes into two different interfaces: the dashboard interface and the jobs log interface. Oops, I need to log back in. Give me just a moment. So the dashboard interface and the jobs log interface. So the dashboard shows you every file that you have not spent any time confirming. And we'll talk about what I mean by confirming in a moment. The jobs log shows you everything that you've printed, whether or not you've confirmed it. The difference in confirming a job and not confirming a job is when you select the job and you tell it what categories you want it to be applied to. For example, does this apply to a specific route, a specific salesperson, a specific brand? Does it apply to on or off premise? How about a specific event? Was it for March Madness? Was it for a Bud concert series or that regatta you always sponsor? How about the state fair? Was it for a specific account? You can come in here and select the things that it applies for, all pre-created by you. Now, I'll show you in a moment how to do that. It's very simple to create your keywords that you can apply to files. But this allows you then the ability to track by specific criteria. So if you want to be able to run a report for what did you do for the Bud concert series, for Joe, the sales rep, for Route 103 last quarter, you can pull that up. Okay? So it's a very dynamic, very in-depth tool that allows you to dig down exactly what the information is that you need. Okay? Up here as well, you have the ability to change what material type you printed on in case you selected the wrong material type in the beginning. That beginning point being in CorelDRAW where I showed you under color to change that material type. Now, let me just, I want to back up because that brought to my mind one other thing. When you're printing a file for the large format printers, it's done there under the color. Okay? If you're printing to the small format printers, whether it's the brand new C931 printer or the old 9650 Okidata printer, you do that under Media Set, where you select the appropriate material type. Okay? That not only tells the printers what correct color modifications and profiles to use, but also allows MPS to know what you printed on so it can capture the correct cost. Okay. Now, Nicholas, to get to your question, you had asked a question about where these costs come from. These costs are pre-created by TMS, and they include all of the TMS ink and material. There is no other way to get it in here. They are actually hard-coded into the database for TMS ink and material. That said, at the time that we create the account for you, we also have the option of your input in creating finishing costs. So, for example, did you use grommets? Do you want to track grommets by a quantity amount? So if you tell us that you want to track grommets by 50 cents per grommet, and that you want the ability to be able to change how many grommets you used on the sign, you then would select grommets, and you'd put in 4, and that would add another $2 to the sign at 50 cents a grommet. Okay? Same thing with, did you put it on foam core or lamination, or did you use banner tabs? And we can track on a cost per quantity, a cost per square foot, or just a single flat rate cost. And that can be added into the cost of the sign that is calculating for this specific image that we're confirming. Okay? So we've gone over a couple little things just to recap. Ink and material costs are automatically calculated for you based upon what selection you've made for the material that you're printing on. Finishing costs are something that are defined by you at the time that we set this up. That also goes for labor costs. If you want tracked by labor costs, we can set that up so that you would then only have to put in how much time did you spend creating the file in pre-production labor, and how much time did you spend finishing the file, such as grommeting, laminating, mounting on foam core, in post-production labor. And it would automatically calculate that out for you. And we can have two different reference amounts there, one for pre-production and one for post-production. So if you yourself are making $30 an hour and you're doing pre-production labor, you can put that in here. And if you've got some kid coming off the street and mounting at the foam core at $5 an hour, you could put that in here, and we'd be able to track by appropriate costs. Okay? I'm going to jump back over real quick and make sure that there aren't any questions thus far. It does look like we have a question, so give me just one moment to answer this question. It looks like Jamie's got a question for us. The question is, what is the price of MPS? MPS is $595 for the first year, Jamie. That's $595 for the first year. The second year is $495. So any subsequent resubscriptions, it drops $100 in price. I hope that answers your question. I'm not seeing any other questions, so I want to move on. All right. So now we've talked about confirming jobs. Let's talk about how to create those categories that we can then track by in the future. To create these categories, what you're going to do is you're going to come into the keywords dialog. In the keywords dialog, you have the ability to come over here to this manage, add keywords, and we can create a new category. And the new category I might want to create is, let's say specialty brands. Okay? And maybe I want to put in, I'm just going to put in some numbers. Obviously, you can put in whatever you want in here as far as the text. But when you actually create this category and put in the keywords that you want to track by and hit create, that will automatically put it in here. Now, you don't have to type it in there. If you've got it in an Excel spreadsheet, you can take the files, or the image, the different text files of that spreadsheet in all the cells, highlight what you want, copy it, come over into EFI, and you can paste it in here. So if I want to add new keywords, and maybe it's to that specialty brands that I just created, I can add those in there. Just paste it in. Okay? So that's a quicker way to do it. Either way, once you have your categories and your keywords created, you can delete keywords that you've made by specifically selecting that keyword. Maybe I didn't want the specialty brands, so I'm going to select those. Or I could have just done a filter for specifically specialty brands and selected them all. And then I can come over here to Manage, and I can either delete the selected keywords or delete the selected category. I'm going to delete that category because I really didn't want that. Okay, so that no longer exists. But I do have some other things in here. Okay, now what I can do then is I can come over here to my dashboard with whatever I've created, and I can put in the things that apply to this job specifically. So for example, if I want to put in what did I do for this, I spent, and this is a cost template, we'll get into that in a minute, I spent 10 minutes creating and 15 minutes finishing this job. It applied to Route 103. It was for Carl, the sales rep. Excuse me. It was for, and we can put in whatever you want here, Joe's Bar and Grill, for Bud Light, and it was for the Bud Concert Series. So I can apply whatever applied to this job. And obviously these are things I just made up off the top of my head, so it doesn't really help me that I'm trying to remember these on the fly. But you have the ability to put in these, and then you can confirm this and close this dialog, or you can confirm this and open up the dialog for the next file in the dashboard. Okay. So you also have the ability, let's say you've got multiple files that were the same file, you also have the ability to confirm multiple jobs together. And we also have the ability to come in and, again, change any of the information that we needed to about, oh, I wasn't printed on PMWR, that was actually on heavy fabrics, and that's what, or the 180G, excuse me, material, and that's what I meant to select was the 180G. So we can actually get the appropriate costs that way as well. Again, I'm just going to bounce over and make sure that we don't have any questions. Give me one moment. It's in the flyout window here. We do have a question. Let me just take a look at that. Does it track partially printed or errored prints? Say it's cut off at 18%. That's a fantastic question. Thank you. So the question is, what if I have a job that prints and it only partially prints, or we had to cancel it for some reason and it only got through part of the print? Does it track that? The answer is it tracks the entire sign. At this point, that's the only way that it can do it. That's the way that EFI reports it to us, is it reports it as an entire sign printed. However, we are currently working on an interface that we hope will take care of that issue, where we actually gather the information from EFI instead of just taking what they give us. So hopefully that answers your question, Nick. Let me just jump back over here and make sure I don't have any others. We do have another question here. When confirming a job, can you split it between more than one account? For example, if you printed 10 copies of a case card and 5 are of one account, 5 of another, can you specify that when confirming? So basically the question is, how can we split up the cost? Lisa, that's a great question. That is a feature that should be launched here in the next couple of weeks. Our engineer that is specifically working on that feature is relocating, moving from one country to another. So it's going to take just a little bit of time to get to it, but we think we've got it figured out, and it should be coming very, very, very shortly. So hopefully that answers that question. Anything else before we move on? Okay, I'm going to move on then. So the powerful part of MPS, although we have all these capabilities of confirming jobs and putting, is actually the reporting process. So to do reports, you have one of two options. You can do your reports in the jobs log, and you can type in specific values that you're searching for. So for example, if I'm looking for anything that I did for Budweiser in a specific date range, or maybe Budweiser for Carl for a specific date range, or Budweiser for Carl for off-premise for a specific date range, I can do that in here. I can apply a filter, and it will filter down to exactly that, although I don't know that that exact combination exists. So I will do this, Budweiser. And I'm going to hit Apply Filter, and we can see, oh, here they are right here. Now, I can manage what I'm seeing here. I can manage these columns. So I'm going to come over here to Manage Columns, and I want to see what keywords are applied. And maybe I want to see not labor time, because I don't care about labor time. Maybe I care about, well, everything else is there. So we can see the keywords that were applied there are for Route 102 for Budweiser for 4th of July. I'm going to just click on this, and it can also show me here. 102, Budweiser, 4th of July, Carl, KJ Kicks was the account. So I can then, maybe I wanted to, just to show that we can do this, maybe I wanted to do Budweiser for KJ Kicks. And it will only pull open those things that apply for that specific search criteria. Now, again, that's the specific search criteria, the specific date range, and then I can go ahead and download this file as an Excel spreadsheet, which shows me all of this information minus the job name or the job thumbnail preview, which I'm going to do real quick so I can show you what that Excel spreadsheet looks like, because we put a lot of effort into making sure that that's a very decent spreadsheet now. All right, so let me get back over here and we'll actually open that. So what this does is it shows you the files that you printed that specifically apply to the search criteria that you just ran. And it allocates it out as to, okay, here's what was applied for the specific criteria for the search. If you had finishing costs, it would have tracked that, and it would have added it to the material costs to give you a total cost. It shows you what material types you printed on, shows you the printer name, shows you the date printed, shows you the size of the job, shows you the name of the job, and you can then take this and run a pivot table report on it, or give it to your CFO or to somebody who cares about the costs, and they can run reports on it and gather whatever information you want. The other type of report that you can run is a report that shows exactly what you're seeing here, including the thumbnail preview, but then is not editable, which is the PDF report. And that PDF report comes up, and let me just do that as well. And it looks like this. So you can give this this cost to your manager. And you can see, okay, there was a total of 8 jobs. It cost $53 in total cost, and that's how much media was used. Okay. Any questions so far on how to run reports from the jobs log? Let me just come back over here in my flyout window and make sure that I'm not missing any questions. Well, I'm not seeing anything here. Okay, there was a question here, sorry. This question comes from Pete. Pete, your question. Looks like it was answered. Okay, so moving on. All right, so the next opportunity that we have to run reports, and the next option that we have for running reports is under the reports link. Now that reports link allows us to be able to run reports based off of entire search criteria. So for example, if I want to report, and this is all based on the categories that you've pre-created. Now there are some default like jobs over time and jobs like printer. Those are specifically hard-coded into the database. But if you create your own categories for keywords such as sales rep or special events or brands, beer brands or liquor brands or accounts, those show up here, and anytime you apply a keyword from that category, it then would show up if we wanted to run a report on show me cost by accounts. Again, you can specify a specific date range if you want. I'm not specifying a date range, and this is just for support purposes, but it just shows, you know, KJ Kicks 5309, Joe's Bar and Grill, just in time. Here are the accounts that I have allocated my files to. Now, the cool thing about this, and one of the newer features that we've launched recently, is that if you want to be able to drill down and say, okay, well, show me all the jobs in here, you can just click on that pie wedge, and it will take you over to the jobs log and show you, based on your criteria for search and everything, what was applied for that specific job, that specific category, that specific keyword. I think this is a good time to introduce the fact that we are going to be changing this up a little bit. In the next little while, this reports link is going to get even more powerful when you click on a specific category that you want to run a report by, for example, sales reps. Instead of clicking on this and it taking you back to the jobs log, it would drill it down again. So if I wanted to click on Carl, the sales rep, it would then come up with a selection and say, okay, now based on this, here's how Carl applied to your accounts, special events, all of these different subcategories, all these other categories that you did not select here, so that you could drill down even further. And then you can either jump out at that point to the jobs log or keep drilling it down even further from there. So this is going to be really neat. Once you have the reports that you want, and you can always show an additional one, and we can always do another one. Once you have the reports that you want, you can download these reports into an Excel spreadsheet or into a PDF chart as well. Okay. Now, a couple of things that we didn't cover. I just want to make sure we have a question. Oh, here's a question here. The question is, can you print the pie charts? Yes, as a PDF. And then, is there an option to make presets for our most often printed jobs, such as cooler stickers and case cards, so that we don't have to enter each detail every time, like media and fabrication? Well, the answer is yes. The question then becomes one, and this is a great question, Jamie, of are there some things that changed? So can we hard code some of the costs? Yes, we can create specific templates for you that you could then apply. So for example, a template, and we'll show you over here in the job dashboard now. If you come over here to the dashboard and we select cooler wraps, 60 minutes, and this is the cost. You can build in something like that where we say, okay, every time I do cooler wraps, I'm just going to throw in that it costs me an additional, besides material and ink, an additional $30 to do that. What you'd want to do at that point, then, instead of worrying about all the finishing costs up here on the top, is to come down here and make sure that you still apply the other things that you may care to track by. So accounts, brands, all of that kind of stuff. I hope that answers your question. Please answer back and let me know if it does. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So that does answer the question. Any other questions thus far? Okay, moving on, I wanted to show you, oh, hold on, there's another question. Oh, it looks like it went away. Ryan, if you still have the other question, go ahead and post it back. I'd be happy to answer it. I'm going to move on for now, though. The other thing I wanted to show you here on the keywords was a cool thing. that we implemented several months ago, was just the availability to send off notification emails that that the sales rep signs are ready to be picked up. Can you delete items from the dashboard? Great question. Ryan, at this point, the operator does not have that ability. However, we can create administrative login that gives you the ability to one-off delete. If you need a bulk delete, yes, contact me at any time, contact TMS at any time. We'd be happy to do it for you. We've got another question coming in from Nick saying, if we step and repeat a file or nest a file in EFI and then print that file, will it actually count them as individual files or as a singular file? Great question. That's a pretty in-depth question. The answer is EFI reports it as one job. We are in that same interface that I was talking about creating. We are hoping to be able to extract the individual files from the one job that EFI creates at this point, so that we can break it up into allocating it as different costs. But at this point, it does say that it's one job. So for those of you who may not understand the question, let me just explain this. In EFI, you have the ability to group several different jobs together to conserve material across the width of the media and to print them all at the same time. So technically, they're all printed at the same time. They're all printed on the same media. And it captures the correct cost because we know how much ink was laid down and how much total material was used to print that entire file. But EFI does not separate them out. If you do that, EFI does not separate them out as individual files that were printed within that nested file. Instead, it says that it's one large job. So you can't say, okay, well, this one was for this account, so this one was for this brand, this one, it's all going to be applied the same. But again, the new interface that we have for capturing the data, I'm hoping, which will be released here in the next couple of weeks, should be able to address that. We've got our fingers crossed. We're working really closely with EFI in development of this new product. Can you edit it later through the dashboard or make a special note? Can you clarify that question for me, Nick? You're asking if you can edit it later in the dashboard. So you can apply all of the different brands, you can apply all that kind of stuff. Now what we are working on, and this is another thing that should address that, is the ability to split the costs. And I talked about this a little bit earlier as one of the features that should be here in the next couple of weeks, is the ability to take a banner and say, okay, apply all of these accounts, because it had a ton of accounts in this nested file, and apply all these brands, but then split it, and the cost should be 20% for this, 5% for this, 50% for this, 15% for this, and 10% for that. And there's your 100% cost, and it will split it out as to, for this category, for accounts, that's 100% allocation for the accounts. Now 100% allocation for brands. How do you want to split up your brand cost? How do you want to split up your, and it'll allow you to do that. Maybe that answers your question without you having to further explain it, Nick. If not, let me know. Okay, let me show you this feature that I was talking about with the sales reps and being able to send out an email that will automatically notify them of the job being complete. This is kind of a cool feature. If I want, what I can do is I can take these keywords that I'm creating over here, and I can add a new keyword. So I'm going to manage and add a keyword, and I'm going to say my keyword category is sales reps email, and I'm going to put on here Justin, Carl, Josh, Les, Sean, technicians over here at TMS. Okay, my notifications. If I do Justin, if I apply Justin to a file, then I needed to email junkmail@tmsprintsystems.com. Okay, and if I go to Carl, I want it to go to KJ box, so on and so forth, okay? So that if I apply that, it will automatically, now I'm going to create those real fast, come over into my dashboard, and I'm going to confirm a job as Carl, and you can see I've got two different things, sales rep and sales rep email. That's because I created two different accounts. I didn't have to do that. I could have kept it all under the sales rep account. I just wanted to create one from scratch and show you how it works. But if I do the sales rep email and confirm and close this, it's going to now shoot off an email saying, hey, this has been applied, it's been printed, it's been categorized, come get it. Okay? Pretty cool little feature. I've got another thing here, another question from somebody. Say I put 8 small files on a step and repeat on a file. So talking about nesting a file. Can I then make a report that says this was actually 8 files? Okay, so that would be best served, in my mind, Nick, in the Excel spreadsheet. When you download that and you're giving that Excel spreadsheet to somebody, or in a PDF, you can make a note on the side of the PDF. It's not going to be here in EFI that you can make that note. But again, hopefully this is just a short-term Band-Aid that we're talking about, because I'm very hopeful that we're able to actually extract that data with this new tool that we're creating. Okay. The last tab here is Account, and it allows you to put in what time zone you're in, and whether or not you want to receive emails daily about notifications letting you know that there are files in the dashboard that need your attention. Just to kind of go over what I found as far as best practice from the people I've spoken with over the last couple of years about MPS. Best practice seems to be to come in the following day after you've printed. So for example, if I'm printing all day today, I'm not going to worry about applying or confirming any of these jobs today. I actually come in the morning, and I spend the first 10 minutes of the day just applying filters, keyword filters, and finishing costs and labor templates and whatever we want to do apply to these jobs. Get them all out of the way. It should take about 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. Then go about your printing for the day. Then do the same thing tomorrow morning. If you stay up on it like that, that's the fastest and best way that we found to do that. There's nothing else really in here that is of any concern, except for it may be of value to you to be able to create a markup cost in here that would automatically literally apply a 10% markup or a 250% markup to all of the jobs that you're printing, so that you can give these reports now to maybe Joe's Bar and Grill that might show a more, might reflect more of a market standard cost for the files that you did for Joe's Bar and Grill. So now it becomes a sales tool as well, where you can take in your reports and say, we spent $450 for you in advertising last March Madness, but we only did $1,000 in business. This doesn't work. We need to do whatever. So it becomes a sales tool at that point, which is really kind of cool. Any questions about any of this information? This is MPS right here in a nutshell. I'm not sure if there's anything else that needs to be brought up, but if there's any questions that you got about anything that we've gone over, please raise your hand at this point and we'll get to them all. I see that we may even have a couple of staff members from TMS on here. Anything that you guys might want to know, that would be great. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over here to questions and answer some questions for a few minutes. The first one is, can you show a sample of an email? What does the info include? Sure. Let's do this. Let me actually come back over here. And I'm going to manage keywords. And I'm actually going to do this under a new category. And I'm just going to put in there. That's where it's going. So I'm actually creating a real email here. So now I'm going to come over here to Marios, and I'm going to apply my name. Confirmed and closed. Now let me just go ahead and open this up. I'm just waiting for my email to update here, guys. Any other questions we can get to in the meantime? I'm going to jump on them while we're waiting for my email to come through. If you have a sister company, could you and the other company split the cost, or does it have to be an individual company? That's a great question, and let me answer it this way, and I should have covered this up front, so thank you for asking the question. The MPS cost is specifically per EFI dongle, because it captures everything off of that dongle. So if you have a sister company and they have their own EFI product and their own EFI dongle sitting on some PC someplace, and they want to be able to run MPS, they have to have their own MPS software. If you guys share and you're printing over the network from one location to the other, if you share a singular dongle, you absolutely could split that cost. I hope that answers your question, Jasmine. If not, let me know. And let's see if I've got that email yet. Ah, okay, I found it. I had actually applied the wrong keyword function. So now I should be getting that email momentarily. Here it is. So this is what the email looks like. Nick, can you see my, or it wasn't Nick, it was Ryan. Can you see my PC? Okay. So let's go ahead and download pictures. This is what they're getting. Comes up and says this message is a confirmation that this specific file was printed. This is the information about the file. It does not show them cost, but what it shows them is a thumbnail preview, and it shows them the availability to come and pick it up. Okay? Hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if you want to see something different on that, Ryan. Randy asks, what is the cost for the software? Just to go back over, the software is $595 for the first year. I meant to do this in advance. Please forgive me for being crude. $595 divided by 365, you're looking at $1.63 a day for the first year. The second year is only $495, and that's in any subsequent years. So you're looking at $1.35 a day at that point. So it does go down by $100 for that second year. $595 annual subscription, and then $495 thereafter. That annual subscription for the $595 includes setup charges and all that, because it takes a while to create these databases. Just so you're aware of what happens when you actually place the order for MPS, is that we will receive the order, and then within the week we will contact you and let you know that your account has been created. When you place the order, you'll actually get, as part of the order, a little spreadsheet to fill out so that we can create the account appropriately that asks for specific information. And then you'll need to create there's going to be an Excel spreadsheet as well that will be tied in, that you can put in for any of the finishing costs that you may want to track by. So for example, if you are tracked by grommets or lamination or foam core or banner tabs or application tape or anything like that, you can do so there. And then once we actually speak and go over your database and set everything up and get you logged in, you can then we can talk about putting in labor templates, as was asked earlier, so that if there's a specific amount that you just want to apply to any files that you do for banners, for example, and you don't want to have to go over and select all of the, I did banner tabs and I did grommets and if you just want to select a labor template instead, we can set that up at that point. Okay? Unless there's any other questions, which I'm going to go up and down the list right now, just make sure. I believe that concludes. Oh, there is a question. Fantastic. Let me get over here. So does the software work for a file sent to plotters for vinyl cutting? Nick, it does not, because the vinyl cutting is not supported through EFI. This is only things that are printed through EFI at this point. That's a fantastic idea. I'm actually going to write that down as an idea. It's something we haven't really discussed. But in the future, as we develop this product further, because we are fully in charge of it, and it's our own engineering team that's creating this product, it may be something to look into, adding vinyl cutting output files and seeing if there's a way to capture that data with the tool that we're creating to capture it from EFI ourselves. Can we capture that? Okay, so I'm making that as a note. Thank you for the suggestion. That's one thing I want to make very clear, is that this MPS software that we have created has been changed since the beginning of when we actually launched it out there multiple times, specifically to add in features, to change things, to tweak things based upon the feedback that we have from you, our customers. So it's very important, and we love the feedback, and it has helped make this product an incredibly great product at this point. So we thank you for that. Is the price per EFI dongle? Yes, CJ, it is. It is per EFI dongle. So if you've got multiple dongles of EFI sitting in your system, first of all, every time you go to upgrade to a new EFI product, you're paying for that same thing. It's the same thing. It's licensing. It's grabbing that from that one server. So it is a per dongle login. Now, when I create the interface for you, CJ, and this may answer a follow-up question, when I create the MPS interface for you, or when TMS creates that MPS interface for you, we can tie multiple dongles into a single user interface so that you don't have to go searching through multiple, or we can leave them as separate so that you can log in and see what so-and-so is doing or what this location is doing, so on and so forth. I hope that answers that question and any follow-up you might have had for that. Yeah, Nick, I love that idea about doing vinyl. I think I definitely will look into seeing if we can't get that done. Because you also work on the cost for the 9650 printer. Yeah, anything printed through EFI. So if it's the 9650, if it's to the 931, it doesn't matter. 9600, we support all of that workflow through EFI. And so anything that you print to the OKI data through EFI will be captured. That's an incredible thing. So great question, Jasmine. Let me know if you've got a follow-up to that. Is there any way to add a file manually that was not printed through EFI, like if you accidentally printed to the OKI driver? No, there's not. The files that we're looking for, Lisa, they're not created by MPS. They're created by EFI. That singular file, and it's created at the time that the status changes from processed to printing. So if you wanted to, what you could do is fool the system by sending that same file again through EFI and let it change its status from processed to printing and then cancel it. Just a thought. You could do that. At that point, it should have created the file and that's necessary to upload to EFI or MPS, and that should work. Okay. I'm not sure if my OKI is tied into EFI. How would I want to add that? Great question, Lauren. Please contact us at TMS as soon as this webinar is over. We can help you set that up in EFI. Not a problem at all. Any other questions? Let's see. Could you manually enter it into an Excel file? It's not an Excel file, Nick, that's created. If you're talking about manually uploading, clarify that question for me, if you wouldn't mind. I'm thinking that, are you talking about to upload to MPS, or are you talking about the Excel spreadsheet that you download based on the reports that you ran? Can you manually change that? You can change anything in that you'd like. It's an Excel spreadsheet. So yeah, when you produce an Excel file to download from MPS as a report based on whatever search criteria you wanted to run your report for, or no search criteria and just show me everything, once you've downloaded that Excel spreadsheet, it's completely editable by you. You can run pivot tables on it. You can take in and add additional columns and put in additional information. You can edit the information that's there. It's all 100% editable by you. Anything else? I'm going to let this go here for another couple of moments, and if I don't see another question, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure. Oh yeah, perfect. What is the minimum cost of the program? Does it become free after 6 years? Great question. At this part, what I'm looking at is it's $495 each additional year. That is so that we can maintain the servers and be able to continue to do the upgrades on the programs and the feature updates and everything. So the nice thing about the MPS software is that all new features, you just get it. It's a subscription-based program, so you just get it. You don't have to pay for an upgrade, and if you want to think about it as paying for an upgrade cost every year, that you just get everything that's coming with it. So it's automatically uploaded. Any new features that we do are automatically uploaded along the way as we go along, and that's what you're getting for the $495, along with the database maintenance, the server maintenance, the purchasing of new servers, and all that kind of stuff. So now there are additional modules to MPS, and we're going to talk about that on Friday. So let me end with this. On Friday, 2 days from now, we're going to have another webinar specifically about sign request, which is a module that interfaces with MPS. And this module is meant for sales reps and sales managers to be able to submit sign requests to you in the sign shop, in the sign room, as an operator, as a designer, so that you can then open up their request and we can go through and show you how to do all that on Friday. It's a fantastic product. It is a module. It's an add-on feature. It's not part of the base product, MPS, which is what we're talking about today. Any other questions? Fantastic. Thank you for your time, everybody. Have a fabulous weekend if we don't hear from you on Friday.